In this episode of Travelogue, we head to the city of Jieshou in Shanxi. We discover temples that are unique to the whole of China and delve deeper, literally, into history as we explore the ancient fortress of Jiangxi, almost getting lost in its underground labyrinth along the way.
I've always loved train rides because they give you a chance to really reflect on the journey ahead. And that's exactly what we need for our next destination. We're heading to the town of Jieshou in Shanxi. Now, this is a place full of dusty battlegrounds and sacred temples, and it's also the home of a lost fortress. So, I'm Katrina Yu. Thank you for joining us on Travelogue, and join us as we uncover the mysteries of Jieshou.
Jieshou is a county-level city in the heart of Shanxi province. It lies between the Mianshan Mountains and the Fenhe River. It's quite easy to get to, with a bullet train from Beijing taking you around 5 hours. Jieshou's 500,000 residents enjoy a simple and unhurried lifestyle. There's a strong sense of tradition here, which is unsurprising considering the city boasts thousands of years of history. It's fairly small in size, but overflows with important cultural sites and relics. Luckily for us, much of it is well preserved.
Now, Jieshou is a great place to come and see some traditional architecture. In fact, in this city, there are 5 different Ming Dynasty temples that you can come and explore. But this one right behind me, well, this one is extra special.
Xianshan Temple was built around 600 years ago, at the time of the Ming Dynasty. From the outside, very little looks out of the ordinary. But notice the details and you'll realize that Xianshan is different.
During the Tang Dynasty, there were a number of foreign religions brought into the country via the Silk Road, and Zoroastrianism from Persia was one of them. And this temple here is the last remaining temple to that religion in China. We can tell because in the temple behind me, just on the roof there are some architectural clues.
The eaves and spires of its roof are decorated with animals not found in China, and also use patterns and shapes similar to those common in the Middle East. Silk Road trade stops like Jieshou were often associated with religious diversity, and Xianshan was actually a place of worship for believers in an ancient Persian faith.
Now, we've just left Xianshan Temple, and it crowns the top of this street, which isn't just any old street. It's actually the original main old road of ancient city here in Jieshou. Now, at the bottom of it is our next destination, another temple. And on the way, while this street is currently being refurbished, we can pop into some restaurants and shop.
This is Jieshou's city center, but strolling along here in the middle of the day, it doesn't feel like it. There are no crowds, no traffic noise. Older residents sit and chat in the sun, imbuing the street with an atmosphere of leisure and community. Maybe people have time on their hands because Shanxi is an agricultural region, and in the colder months, the pace of life slows significantly. The tranquil environment is perfect for taking the time to appreciate historical sites like this. And this is Hochu Temple. It's unique because it's not only a Tao place of worship, it also honors a goddess from mythology, a rare combination for a temple in China. Now, according to folklore, Nuwa was a beautiful goddess of order. She helped to create humans and also saved them from destruction. During a battle between the water and fire gods, a hole was torn in the sky, wreaking havoc on the earth. But Nuwa repaired it, using river stones and a giant tortoise, or so the story goes.
Now, it may seem a little strange to have a theatre in such a sacred place, but there was a very important reason for this. You see, each temple was devoted to a particular god, and on a special occasion, such as that god's birthday, for example, there would be a grand performance performed here on stage to the god as an offering, as a special sort of prayer.
The grounds of Hotu Temple are pretty large. There are a few buildings to explore and passages to wander through. It's just as well it's big, because Nua isn't the only deity in residence. Hotu pays respects to literally hundreds of gods of all strengths and sizes.
Well, I'm just sitting here taking a little bit of a break and looking up at these 2 rows of figurines. Now, these are all little gods who are designed to be listening, if you like, to the 3 main gods in that central temple there. Originally, there were more than 1,000, but because of the passing of time and moisture, there are now only about 700 here. But it's kind of delightful just to be sitting here and looking at each one of them. They're all covered in a bit of dust now, but they're still vivid in terms of the colourful clothes that they're wearing, and looking at each of their expressions, which are quite different. It's pretty fascinating.
And if a small army of gods isn't impressive enough, just climb the stairs for a peek at this special architectural feature. This temple is one of the best examples of this type of ceramic roofing. During the Ming and Qing dynasties, the craftsmen who produced this type of roof were so famous they were called to Beijing to help build the Forbidden City itself. Besides Jeshou, that's the only other place you'll see a more impressive example of this type of work. Jeshou may otherwise be quite an unassuming city, if not for these gleaming gems of traditional Chinese architecture. And I was surprised to discover that one local family has been responsible for their production for hundreds of years. We hopped in a van to venture away from the city centre to the place where this ceramic tiling has been created for generations. After about half hour's drive, we arrive at the artist's home and factory. Talk about unassuming. The work produced here is exported all over China. Each piece is painstakingly crafted according to traditional methods handed down over generations. Mr. Liu is now in charge. His talent and skill in this field is so renowned that he's been made a living part of the provincial intangible cultural heritage by the Shanxi government.
这个孔雀蓝釉，这是上以前是灰色的，一过火以后，你看特蓝色的，特漂亮，啊。
So as you can see, the colour appears here completely different. You would have no idea until it comes out in the end of this beautiful, very vivid green-blue colour. The real craftsmanship that comes into creating it is getting the balance of chemicals right in order to produce the bright colours. So for this yellow, for example, there's actually a certain amount of iron that's required to make the exact shade of yellow, and same with this kind of blue colour. It has a certain amount of copper or bronze in it, and the amount of that inside the paint will dictate the kind of sheen that you come up with in the end. So it's very complicated process. Oh, 这个是那个蓝。对，对这个。
Fashioning these colourful treasures is truly a family affair. Mr. Liu's wife lends a hand with the most intricate designs, which are carefully created not only in a special side section of the factory, but even in their own living room. As I'm toured through the field of finished pieces waiting to be shipped hundreds of kilometres away, I marvel not only at the detail, but at the hardiness of each piece. This art is made to last lifetimes. These are objects of legacy.
You know, Gesho craftsmen have been renowned for producing this type of work for centuries, and yet I was surprised to learn today that this is all produced still at such a small scale. It's all produced by hand and also led by this one family. It's like they have this little family secret that's been passed on from generation to generation, and I hope it'll continue for many generations to come.
Up next on Travelogue, we arrive at the mysterious fortress of Jiangbi, and I get a taste of subterranean warfare, doing my best to make sure my hair doesn't catch fire along the way. In this episode of Travelogue, we head to the city of Jieshou in Shanxi. We discover temples that are unique to the whole of China and delve deeper, literally, into history as we explore the ancient fortress of Jiangbi, almost getting lost in its underground labyrinth along the way. It's a busy morning in Jieshou. I'm looking forward to exploring a place where I need to head deep below the ground.
Not too far away from the main train station is the transport bus station, and from here you can go to any of the surrounding villages, areas, or Lianshan and Jiangbi, where we're just about to go and explore the lost fortress.
Jiangbi is an ancient village located about 10 kilometers from Jieshou's center. If you prefer not to take a bus there, you can easily rent a car and drive there, or even cycle.
Oh, well, it's a chilly autumn morning, and we've just arrived at Jiangbi Fortress. And I'm surprised how tucked away it is from the road. You can hardly see it. Here, it's pretty impressive.
Jiangbi is also not far from the more famous ancient village of Pingyao, maybe an hour's drive. But what Jiangbi lacks in fame, it makes up for in mystery. No one knows when exactly this village was first built. Remains have been found dating as far back as the Sui dynasty 1400 years ago. What we do know, however, is that Jiangbi wasn't just designed to house the community. It was designed for war.
So when you come into Jiangbi, it's really evident that this was meant to be a military fortress as soon as you walk into the north gate, because if you're, for example, an enemy infiltrator, it may seem that you've got into the village, but you still have that main gate to get through. Not only that, you find yourself somewhat trapped in this containment area. From here, there would be an easy target for any Jiangbi defenders taking aim from up in that wall. Now, if you do somehow manage to get past that trapped container area, you have to go through here to go into the main village. And once you get into the village, you'll notice that every entrance to each alleyway, for example here and over here, more gates. And eventually you'll get to your fourth gate, and then finally arrive at your fifth gate before you even get close to a private home. But I think that's not the most impressive feature about this defense mechanism. For that, we're going to have to go underground.
The walled village is built into a mountain with a complex network of tunnels underneath it, and one man knows them perhaps better than anyone else.
This is Zhang Gonggen, and he's a local villager here. And after he retired when he was about 52, he decided to devote his life to researching the history of this place. And now, after about 20 years, he's an expert, and he's going to show us into the tunnel. 好了，我们进去吧。
好，我们先把这个简单的看一下。
啊，这是什么地图？
啊，对，这是一个剖面示意图。啊。张北古地道呢，已经开发的部分呢，仅仅是古堡地面的 1/3。我们现在走进地道呢，就由可汗庙走进来。这条地道的推进的过程呢，它要和天然沟壑相接。让我们更感觉惊奇的就是说，这期间呢，我们发现一个立体3层，底层、中层、顶层，这个框架式的东西很了不起啊。另外呢，它推进的过程呢，在背后还有一个中间一层，中间一层呢，它搞了许多伏击点，还有地堡，还有中层指挥点，这些呢，我们去下面看就知道。
The labyrinth below has been preserved as authentically as possible, meaning very few electric lights. Instead, Mr. Zheng lights the dark with an old-fashioned torch, an admittedly thrilling detail.
古人在修做这个地道的时候啊，给我们留下了很多思考。一个呢，他怎么去解决通风；一个呢，怎么去解决这个导向。这里就是立体3层，这是为了更有效的解决通风、通讯、通达都解决了。这是牵一发动全局的一个工程。
So from here, the soldiers could have climbed up and down between the different levels. You can still see where they would have put their hands and feet. See over here.
这是一个瞭望哨。它可以通过这种条件，凭着手脚上去，可以瞭望四周陷阱。这个高度以上呢，曾经用翻板，就木头板把它底下撑起来，把底下东西拿掉，这板泄落了，人就掉下来了，陷阱。
And it's not only the booby traps that fascinate me.
这是一处通讯孔，也叫联络孔因为它和上面一层。通过这个孔眼可以说话。
Wow, so this was basically a telephone line strategically placed in the middle of the tunnel system. From here you could communicate to the other soldiers on this side or on that side. So you'd be like, "Hey, 你好，你们快跑了! They're coming! Quick, get away!" So that's exactly how it was going to be used.
Meandering through this pitch-black maze, I struggle to imagine that this labyrinth once housed an entire army. It's packed with traps and cubbyholes, and if not for Mr. Zheng, I certainly would have lost my way. But while ensuring that I stayed close to my expert guide, I must also make sure my hair keeps far enough away from that fiery torch.
这些就是点过油灯的。油灯的这个。
So this is where they kept the candles so that they could light their way.
对，甚至这个上面还有黑迹，就是这个粘剂。
So you can see the soot left over from the smoke back then.
这就要通向顶层了。现在我们就上去。
Inside, you really get a sense of what it must have been like for the soldiers engaged in combat in Jiangbi's dark depths. This would have been a battleground during a turning point in Chinese history, the beginning of the golden age of Tang rule in the 7th century. Those warriors probably wouldn't have been able to decide how long they stayed underground. But thankfully, we can.
Fresh air and light.
看到了。走出去之后这个视野豁大，非常开阔。自然的这种环境，却也能陶冶情操了。
You know, it was so cool to wander around inside those dark tunnels, but it is such a relief to come out and be greeted by this fresh air and this wide view. You know, if you were walking out here, you would never suspect that inside here, just beneath this village, was such a system of complex tunnels. And I never would have thought that this would be here in China. I always imagined all these large-scale battles above ground. I never think about the things that could have been fought underneath. And if you come here, you can experience it for yourself. You can go into these Jiangbi tunnels and imagine the soldiers running to and fro, crawling out through these communication holes, tending to their horses and setting booby traps. It really is a unique and pretty amazing experience.
Up next on Travelogue, Jiangbi's secrets continue to fascinate us as we uncover some rare temple art and learn about the astrological rules hidden in its ancient layout.
你好。
After my adventure underground, I meet a man who tells me Jiangbi above ground is just as fascinating as below. Researcher Mr. Wang.
南斗流行建造的，中国古代搞所有的建造都遵循一种理念，这理念就是五行八卦。你像我们旁边那个水池，这是属于古代的五行八卦太极这种产物。这个水池和刚才我们路过的一个水池是太极的两个眼。 叫阴眼阳眼，那么中间这个是太极河，前边这个建筑物情况就不一样了。前边这个建筑物是一种更古老的一种习俗，中国古代的建造啊，遵循一种更特殊的理念，就是对应天山的星座建造。古堡里头呢，你像这个建筑物叫真武殿，就是对应实现的北玄武所建造的。那么我们现在往前面看一看。好。 现在这棵树啊，变成这棵树，老槐树1000多年了，过去有6棵，因为它是对应天山的南斗六星来家的。很可惜是在过去的60年当中有5棵毁于战火。
Another distinctive feature of Jiangbi is its temples. This pocket-sized village has an unexpectedly large number of ancient temples, 16 in total, integrating different forms of worship: Buddhism, Confucianism, and Taoism. Here, close to a main gate and atop a city wall, 3 different temples sit side by side. They were each built during different periods: the Yuan, Ming, and Qing dynasties.
...400年前，这3尊女彩塑像是明万历41年之前塑起来的。女彩塑的，你看看后面的背光，很精细，全都是用黄泥做出来的，几乎是不敢相信它。类似这样的，就是能达到这种艺术水平的，在山西也只有五台山上的这个的女彩塑像能和这儿媲美。
Mr. Wang tells me that such a high concentration of temples in a small village is rare, and may have had something to do with Jiangbi's position and prosperity during ancient times. Wealthy merchants accustomed to being attacked would construct temples as symbols of gratitude, as well as hope for a bright and secure future. You know, it's not just the buildings that are so well preserved here in Jiangbi. It's the temples. Not only that, it's the temple art that would have otherwise been destroyed during the Cultural Revolution. But here, you can see the original. Have a look, come over here. Shine my light because it's quite dark. So these are original Qing Dynasty murals. About 300 years old, but if you look at the detail, it's so well preserved that you can really see the images in full color and vividness, just as they might have been when they were freshly painted. I love looking carefully at the expressions on their faces, observing the movement in the scene portrayed. There are fewer than 1,000 residents living in Jiangbi today, but remains like this help us to imagine what it must have been like during its heyday. But thankfully, we don't need to use our imagination to piece together all of Jiangbi's history. Here, it's written down.
这块碑是道光11年立的碑，道光11年。这块碑上记载是什么？就是咱们道光11年的时候，村里头做了很多的工程的，二郎庙一带的建筑都进行过整体修缮。咱们堡里头老百姓啊，有用碑文记事的习俗，有大的事件、房屋修缮，都会用碑文来记下来。现在我们通过这些碑，能梳理一下这个村落的历史脉络。
For all its incredible history, written or unwritten, confirmed or still debated, Jiangbi remains a charmingly low-key travel destination. There are no souvenir stands or restaurant chains. In fact, when I felt peckish, the only food I could manage to buy was a bag of freshly picked walnuts from a local for 15 kuai. So, if you're after an authentic historical Chinese adventure, I suggest coming to Jiangbi, and soon, because it seems more and more people are slowly finding out about it, and traveling a long way to get here.
We are from Holland.
From Holland. Oh, okay, great. How long have you been here and traveling in Shanxi?
We are here 1 week yet, and we are staying 17 days.
Oh, great. So you're walking along learning about the different areas here in the village. What are your impressions so far?
Well, the impression is very interesting because of the how old it is and how they worked it out to get the tunnels. For me, because of my length, I had to bow a little here and there. And what I was surprised that at some places they could communicate from the second to the third level, or from the third to the second.
I like it the way it is here. Some historic you can feel here. It's charming, and it's there are not living a lot of people now. 100 I've heard, but and I wondered where they don't have shops. But I like it. The doors, I've seen beautiful doors, but it's nice here.
You only need a few hours to explore this small village, but as I find out, that's ample time to be seduced by it. Besides exploring the maze underneath, it's such a pleasure to walk these quiet cobblestone streets and wander about the walls above. Jiangbi is more than a fortress. It's a cultural time capsule intricately laid out according to the values of ancient Chinese astrology. It's certainly one of the most enigmatic places I've ever visited in China.
You know, the whole time we've been here in Jiangbi, I can't help but have this feeling that this place is teasing us with clues about its history. It's giving us a Yuan dynasty temple here, and then on the other hand, a Qing home courtyard. And then you've got these tunnels which go deep underground, which could have been there hundreds of years before that. And all together it comes and makes this incomplete puzzle, this massive mystery. But I guess it's not important for us to have all the answers. Maybe what's most important for us today is that it remains. And the mystery isn't quite over yet. I think it's going to continue at our next stop, Mianshan.